Good morning, everyone. Kind of unexpected, isn't it? Yes, today is the 7th of February 2019. I'm Roy Potter. Welcome to the Potter Expositor. And no, I wasn't really planning on starting up my regular broadcast Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm still of the mindset that until I see President Trump do certain things, which are what? I've been saying this for a long time. Declassify, collar, the criminals in our government, and at least those two things. I realize that there are problems. James Comey, when he was being interviewed the other day, he just came right out and said Hillary Clinton will never be arrested. That's how sure these evil people are of the system that they have set up. And I realize the difficulty that President Trump has in making that happen. And I suppose, as I said once before, and I was unfortunately attacked for saying it, but I think the wisdom of it certainly makes sense. And that is that if we could restore the republic, the constitutional republic, as it is supposed to be, even at the expense of not collaring Hillary, I would be willing to do that. Personally, as I've said in many of my broadcasts, I don't think that our republic can be healed until those who have tried to destroy it and us are brought to justice. That's my feeling on it. But if Trump has another plan, if he does, that can circumvent the necessity of collaring Hillary, okay, fine. Maybe she'll go off in her own evil thing and self-consume. I don't know. But I do know that until the American people are allowed to see, and yes, they're going to lose faith in what the government has been over the last at least 60 years, and actually longer than that. They will lose faith in it, but maybe a renewed hope, a renewed faith that things will change if President Trump will reveal all that he says he is willing to declassify. I understand that the office of the presidency, as I said the other day, is probably trying to prevent him from doing these things. There are legal things that are going on. The IC is fighting. Even the Five Eyes, as we know, MI6 in Britain, and GHCQ and the Australian intelligence services, if not Mossad and the others, are fighting for him not to declassify all this information on the FBI, the DOJ, and the IC, and how this coup has proceeded. Plus, the actual information on the JFK assassination. He's still not revealing all of that. And I understand what he's trying to do, I think. He's trying to build up, I'm sorry I diverge so much, but a lot of things come into play here, and I'm not trying to give him a pass. At the same time, I want to thank him for the things that he is doing. But I'll go ahead and finish that thought. Without letting us know what are the people that we have been paying taxes to, our blood, sweat, and tears, the U.S. government and all of its appendages. If we don't have clarity, if we don't have transparency, if we don't have an admission of all of the horrible things these people have done over the last years, from the JFK assassination through 9/11, through the Boston bombing, through the coup against President Trump, the wars, etc., then without realizing the depth and the depravity of what's happened, the American people can't make a good judgment. And remember, it is we the people that formed this government. It's not the other way around. And unfortunately, we've allowed, I understand there's some things that need to be kept secret or kept under wraps. But it's gotten to the point now where, of course, it's extremely dangerous. And as I always point out, the IC, and that includes everything from the DOJ to the State Department to the CIA to the FBI, etc. The IC is our most dangerous domestic enemy. I've said it for years, and the truth of that has been made manifest to all of us here, especially in the last 3 years. It's become very apparent. We cannot allow them to get away with this. And I'm not the only one saying this, of course. You have Greg Jarrett, you have Joe DeGeneva, you have Jim Jordan. We could list a whole lot of people. And if I am critical of President Trump on any particular thing, it's not standing totally by the Constitution and going after these traitors and these criminals, allowing this system of injustice, this unequal application of the law to go on, even in his administration. He has to take some actions against that. That and supporting the real Constitution, as I talked about the other day. He has a real problem with making sure that the First Amendment is being protected. He's backed off of that, or at least hasn't taken action on it yet. Maybe he thinks it'll kind of settle itself out, that the market will do it. But I'm not certain that that's the way it's going to work, because just the other day, Alex Jones, and supposedly if you mention Alex Jones, you can be banned from these different social networks. And of course, as you know, I don't care if I'm banned, so I'll say it anyway. Banned. I'll say it right in a minute. It's still a little early here. This is my first cup of coffee. We are digging ourselves out from a snowstorm that laid almost 2 feet of snow. I will be surprised that there's not an interruption to this broadcast, because during this type of weather, as I said, it's the internet connection gets really iffy, and it's not real good as it is. So, at any rate, so those things need to be addressed if we are to heal. When you have a sickness, when you have an infection, treating the symptoms isn't going to do it. I mean, it might make you a little comfortable for a while, like the SOTU, the State of the Union address, talking about all the great things. And then he talked about the other problems, of course, the infanticide, the ongoing wars, etc. But treating the symptoms, the disease isn't eradicated. It isn't destroyed. And if you don't destroy the disease, or at least get it so the immune system can keep it under control, then it will come back, and usually with greater force and violence. As you know, what does the doctor tell you? As bad as antibiotics are, if you're sick and you go take an antibiotic to treat the actual cause of the disease, not just the symptom, the aspirin for the pain, those types of things are treating the symptoms, cough syrup for the cough. But if you're going after the cause of the disease with an antibiotic, the actual root cause, then if you don't take all of your medicine, then the disease can mutate and it becomes stronger than it was before. And when it comes back, it's with an even greater vengeance. And we've seen that with the whole problem with antibiotics since the 1960s, really 50s or so. This problem, which is why the different treatments have had to get stronger, and eventually it'll be a problem. But you see my point. It has to be eradicated now. Now, I would like to think that President Trump is in the mode of doing that. We just heard, for instance, that the IG, the Office of the Inspector General in the Department of Justice, has apparently brought forth. They didn't name them in the public document, but there are apparently 3 FBI officials that he is recommending for charges. That's a start. We'll see where that goes, okay? But of course, it's much deeper and much broader than that. But let me give Trump an accolade here before I go any further, because really the purpose of this broadcast today is really to hone in on the left, the Marxists, the Democrats. I hate to say it. I've tried, like I say, I have family members who are Democrats, and there are those, what do they call them, blue dog Democrats, I guess are what they're called, that are really conservatives, but they go along with the government can solve problems. Well, the Democratic Party is no longer that, and it's unfortunate, and I haven't wanted to really go here, but we're going to go there today. So that's what this is really about today. But let me give some accolades to President Trump first. And you know, I do believe in the Bible. I believe it's a playbook for the good and for the evil, both sides. And both sides use it, pardon me. So, what does President Trump represent? Well, what has he really, at least publicly, concentrated upon? The economy. Getting us back into a good shape where we have full bellies, 3 square meals a day, the necessities of life, things like that. Was that a bad thing? Well, early on I said that if you don't improve the heart and the spirit of the people, giving them riches isn't going to make it better. It's like giving things to a juvenile delinquent, thinking you're going to buy him or her behaving themselves, and that very rarely ever works. So I'm not certain that that's a good idea. Is that really what he was about? Well, there's another aspect of this I haven't talked about. A lot of people that study Scripture will realize it, and of course we've heard those, including myself, that have described Trump very much like the Cyrus of Persia, Koresh, and there are reasons for that. Even the people in Israel have done that. They coined minted a coin with him on there, showing Cyrus of Persia and him, and there are a lot of examples for that. I'm not propping up Israel here. I believe Israel should be allowed to exist as a state, but I am not foolish enough to think that that's the Israel that God had any intention of taking care of in the last days. I don't believe that for a moment, for lots of reasons, and I think most of you know that. But again, that's not what we're here for today. However, let's get back to what Trump has done. He is trying to restore our blessings as far as physical comfort, the necessities of life, things like that. Now, if you read the Bible, and I know a lot of you don't like to go here, but again, remember that this thing is a playbook for both sides. There's a blessing that's given by Jacob, who is also called Israel, to his son Joseph, that he would be the bough, a fruitful bough whose branches would overflow. And that blessing went to his 2 sons, who then got that birthright, Manasseh and Ephraim. Primarily Ephraim was the birthright son. And basically the blessings of Joseph and Ephraim are this material well-being, this richness, this being able to really excel in taking care of the physical necessities of our existence, even riches. Okay, and you can go back and study that for yourself, but that's the case. That's really what was going on there, and so the blessings of Ephraim, who will exist in the last days as a birthright, will bring that to the world. And the United States and Britain have actually done that, more so than anyone else, any other culture in the last, 2 centuries, or two millennia, really. So that has all transpired, and Trump is going there. And I believe, as I talked about the other day, I think it was Zero Hedge that put out the article. I apologize if that's the wrong one now, but I told you about the small circle and the big circle. This is what Trump's doing, the big circle, but the media only talks about the little stuff. I think we saw a little bit of that come out during the State of the Union. So I'm not disparaging him for that. Showing that those blessings are there prior to a repentance, I think is a bad idea. But then again, maybe it just identifies people even more as to how really bad they are, how evil they can be. And that's certainly happening as well. So Trump's probably going to this thing of the blessings of Joseph and Ephraim. And I know a lot of you, like I said, don't like to hear the biblical stuff, but I think that it's important to just bring up that it's happening. On the other hand, there's another scripture. And this very much explains our day, as a lot of them do. And it's in the description box below. and it's 2 Timothy 3, chapter 3, verses 2 to 5. And most of you will remember a lot of that. It talks about people will be lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. And what that means is that they don't have to, by saying lovers of God, what I mean by that, and I think what the scriptures mean, is that you have the attributes of some of the good attributes of God. In other words, that your pleasure doesn't come before your willingness to help others, to stand up for the truth, to have principle. That's even more important than knowing this entity that a lot of people call God, because God is these attributes. A lot of arguments on that, but I think you understand what I'm saying, and I think you should understand what the scripture says. So sometime, I'm not going to read it here, but you should go to 2 Timothy 3, chapter 3, verses 2 to 5, and read that. And now we can get into the meat of what this entire discussion's about, because unequivocally, the Democrat Party has assimilated into it a leftist Marxist demonology, and it's got a really strong hold on it. Nancy Pelosi, a lot of people are saying, well, she's lost control of the party, and these young whippersnapper leftist Marxists are coming in. That was my opinion. Is that was Pelosi's job in the long run anyway. I don't think she's lost control of anything in that regard. I think that's what she wanted. She's pretended to be that middle of the road or Democrat to some extent, but she really isn't, and neither are the rest of them. So I don't really want to talk about. I don't want to say that Trump wasn't right in calling for unity. It's always right to do that. But we have to be realistic and understand, as I've said for a long time, and even in the last few days, that there is no reconciliation between good and evil. There just isn't. And it's no longer a difference of opinion of how the government should run. We are talking about that side, the leftist Marxists, the Democrat Party, is attacking the very foundations that allow them to even speak and do the things they do. In other words, the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. They are attacking that to the point where it has already been destroyed, really. But the concept, the ability to resurrect it, to get a redemption of the constitutional republic, is now very, very difficult to restore. And these people have shown, and you can go back to 2 Timothy here, and to prove my point, to be upset that we would want to save. I mean, Roe versus Wade was bad enough, and I'm not going to get into a discussion of that today. I'm not even going to get into a discussion of the late-term abortion thing, which is an abomination. But in the past, the Democrats and all of these autocracy people, these tyrants, these authoritarians, have said, oh, we need gun control to protect the children. Oh, we need to have this regulation to protect the children. Every tyrant in history has used children as a reason to institute tyranny, to institute unjust laws, to go after the truly just people who in the society who are just trying to make a living, raise their families, and have a decent life. So in the past, and you'll probably hear it now, the Senate Judicial Committee right now is looking at new gun control legislation. And, they wouldn't even let Representative Scalise come and testify to them, give him his information on how he supports the Second Amendment. They're going down that road. And of course, they're already after the First Amendment. We already know that. I'm not going to rehash all the things that we've seen happening there, like Alex Jones being banned again off of 22 channels or whatever it was on YouTube. I mean, Facebook. It just keeps going and going and going. And again, nothing's happening at the federal level to turn this around. As I said the other day, the DOJ's purpose is to make sure that our rights, its real purpose is to make sure that our rights under the Constitution are protected, even against encroachments by the states, cities, etc., and itself. And it's not being used that way. Or else Whitaker would have had a team go into New York, Virginia, and California already on this infanticide business, and certainly go into those same states and into others, Oregon, Washington, etc., on these draconian and unconstitutional gun legislation and laws that they're trying to put into place. But there again, we saw Trump support red flag laws, the bump stock ban. There's some real problems, and those things worry me. But again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time today on that. We're going to concentrate on the leftist Marxists. So, along those same lines, I will say this before, and I'm going to open up the chat. It should already be open, and I'm going to actually take questions on all of this morning. Let you guys have a little airtime that you didn't get the other day. So the chat is open. I've been examining the appointees of President Trump, and there are people that have been out there saying that what he's doing is he's identifying the bad people, and I said no, there's no way that he could not have known that they were bad folks. The history, he's been around for a long time. He's seen it. You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar. Another bad thing, actually. You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to know that Bolton's a problem. That he's a warmonger. You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to know that any of these people are a problem in that regard, without naming the very, very, very long list. But there is another aspect of this, other than just keep your friends close and your enemies closer, which is kind of an excuse for what's happened in the administration. Because on the other hand, none of his supporters have been appointed, not his real supporters. But in the IC area, in the intelligence community area, I've finally noticed something. And I'm not sure what to make of it, but I'm just gonna bring it up, and then we'll get moving on this other business. Ray isn't that strong of a character or personality, the director of the FBI. He really isn't. He's not a Comey. He doesn't have, he's really not that smart. I'm going to really fire up some people here, I'm pretty sure. But I can't help myself. Dan Coates, the director of national intelligence, same thing. I'm not real impressed with him. And finally, because I always attack the CIA, Haspel, who was thrown into this thing, and so many people were saying how wonderful she is and how smart and how she's come up through the ranks and done all these wonderful things. You know what? I don't think she's that smart. I don't think she's that good. Knowing that the IC is his enemy, knowing it is behind the MSM and the fake news, I wonder if President Trump has put these lackeys, these know-nothings, these pretenders to the profession into these positions of power for a reason. Just tossing that out there just to see what you think about it. I think there's something to that, in my own opinion. Okay, so let's talk about the Democrats and the leftist Marxists. As I've said, there is no more possibility of a reconciliation between the left and the right. There is no possible reconciliation between evil and good, and that is what it has become. Absolutely. No question about it. Like I was saying just a few minutes ago, I got diverted because I do that a lot. I'm kind of like Lionel in that regard, Lionel Nation. For how long have they demanded that we do all these things to protect the children? And now here they are defending, not even defending, insisting, demanding that they are able to kill a newborn infant. And you can extend that to the whole thing with pedophilia and all of that horrible stuff that's going on. They're still trying to keep it under the surface, but it's kind of like a pimple. It's starting to show itself, and eventually it's going to pop. Is President Trump going to go after these people? Podesta, for instance, and I think there's plenty of evidence to at least for him to be investigated on these things. Killing infants, I don't know if he's done that. I don't know what he's done, but there's enough evidence in the WikiLeaks and in his email releases and other things, and Hillary's for that matter, and some others, that those things should be investigated, and yet they are not, at least not on the surface. But this is how evil it has become. Whether or not, again, you like the scriptures or not, you touch a child like that, and what does it say? It's better that person have a millstone put around their neck and they be drowned in the depths of the sea. And in another place in Isaiah, he talks about what's going to happen to those who murder the children beneath the rocks. That's an incredible statement, because that's exactly how it works. In the dungeons, in the chambers, in the deep chambers of the earth, or in buildings, kind of the same idea. That's what these Democrat Marxist leftists are now pushing. The promise that President Trump makes, similar promises. Oh, we're going to make it so that you have a wonderful, great life. You're totally taken care of. Now, Trump doesn't say they're going to totally take care of you from the cradle to the grave, but the idea that everything will be handed to you. Not that you'll have opportunities, which is reasonable, but no, it's going to be given to you. All of those things. All these promises of the devil, the fruit of the poisonous tree. Here, free. It's free to you. You don't have to work for it. Just do it, and it'll just be given to you. That's really what that's about. So that's their promise. They show themselves to be the devil's children at every level. Now, the Russian people have rejected that. They threw out the communists with the help of Reagan. I realize all of that, or at least the end result was that. And yet we keep our government, the IC in particular, and their minions in the MSM, and their people in the universities that they've set in there for many, many years now. They talk about how bad Russia is. But we're worse than the Soviet Union was at the time that it went down. And like I said, I'm going to make that point one more time. For the children's sake. And yet now they're pushing to kill a newborn infant. Do you understand how obvious in your face these lies are and their true intentions? The effort to take that horrible situation there of killing the most innocent, most harmless, dependent life that we can possibly imagine, and destroying it. They're willing to do that. They want to do that. They said so. Northam really stepped on it here. But it wasn't a secret. It's just that under the circumstances, as a physician, I don't find him too terribly intelligent. He's one of those educated idiots, is the way I look at it. How those people in Virginia voted him in is beyond my comprehension. Of course, in Utah, just across the border here, they put in Mitt Romney as a senator. Who is really, and we're talking about the Democrats and leftist Marxists today. Don't kid yourself. I know that the rhinos are the same type of people. Okay, I know that. So I don't want to say it's just the Democrats. It's obviously that entire mindset and value or lack of value system, so to say. So there is no way you can sit down, and I've heard several people say this. Dan Bongino said it. I think Alex Jones has said it. There's no way you can sit down at a table now, and in Trump's mind, or at least he's saying that there's unity, that they can get together and talk and compromise. I'm afraid that time has passed. Actually, it passed a long time ago, but now the evidence that they are exactly what they appear to be, and that is controlled by an evil desire, an evil set of objectives, maybe even evil demonic possession, if you're into that. I believe it, but I like to give everybody an opportunity to look at this from a cause and effect situation. They are showing exactly what their end result is, and I don't see any reconciliation occurring. They will be deceptive, Just like in Islam, they say they can lie to you for on behalf of Islam. And don't kid yourself, the Catholics are the same way, and a lot of the upper echelons I'm talking about. And other societies are the same way. Certainly the secret societies are, the banking system. They all lie to you about what they're doing, okay? That's why you need to look below the surface. That's why you judge not by the mere sight of your eyes, but by their fruits, what they do, not what they say. Which is again why I say, President Trump, your rhetoric and what's happening on the ground aren't matching up. Not the way I feel that they should, at any rate. So now we know. I mean, I can't think of anything more heinous than the killing of an infant. I can't imagine it. And what's worse is the women who should be the nurturers in society. I realize, okay, well, what about rape? What about incest? We're not even going there. We're talking about an infant that's been born, and they're going to sit there and talk about taking its life. Women have lost their natural affection. How? Well, through the chemicals in the air, the nanoparticles, the subliminal messages on television, what they're taught in the universities. Who knows? But the point is, they're going there. The Democrats, the leftist Marxists are going there. This is a form of warfare, just as much as the chemtrails, just as much as if they shoot you in the streets, which they're going to do too. That's another thing they want to do, which is why I was talking about, make that statement and buy yourself a semi-automatic rifle to support the Second Amendment and protect yourself from these roving bands when they go. I'm not talking about fighting the government or even the UN for that matter, but these roving bands, MS-13, the Zetas, for instance, and all of those others. And I'm not going to name them all. You should know at least something about it now. The criminals, the real criminals, you need to protect yourself from them. Well, the leftist Marxist Democrats are now the same way. And they're going to come after you, and they're going to try to do it legally. Well, of course, as we all know, what's legal isn't necessarily moral, right? And what's illegal isn't necessarily immoral. They're setting us up. Are they going to be able to pass these draconian laws in the entire Congress and get it to President Trump? And then what's he going to do? Remember, he's already backed the red flag laws and the bump stock ban. He's already done that. He said nothing about hauling back civil asset forfeiture. There is kind of an argument going on about that right now. But I what would it take for him to just suspend that in the department, in the executive branch, and say to the DOJ, do not support any of these programs. As a matter of fact, don't allow it in any jurisdiction in the United States. But he hasn't done that. And like I said on the First Amendment thing, he had a chance to sign an executive order reversing the situation that Obama set up with his shadow government funding all of this nasty media, all this nasty news. No, it's not news. Disinformation, propaganda that's been going on. He didn't do that probably because he knew it would. Because it did just run out, it just did expire. But that doesn't mean that they won't continue. They'll just find other ways of funding it. So at any rate, these things are not being done. The dangers are not being realized to the extent that they really exist. So people like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer's kind of, he's a bad dude, but he's he's kind of in one of those fluid positions. But don't kid yourself. The entry of people like Cortez and some of the others that have come into the Congress now, this is just the start. We have let our guard down. Our people have been dummified. They should have been mortified, but they weren't. They didn't think this through because they've been taught not to think. And now our entire culture, our entire concept of a constitutional republic is in great danger because the end result is they will kill you. The Ayers people said that to Weather Underground back in the 70s, 60s and 70s. And that hasn't changed. And the entire thing has gone that way because we've been asleep. So what are we going to do about it? That's where we are today, okay? There is no reconciliation. There is no sitting down and dealing with these people. Frankly, they should be arrested. If they say and attempt to take the first step in a criminal episode to deny the rights of the people, I don't care if they submit legislation. If it's contrary to the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, they should be arrested. It's one thing to introduce legislation to accomplish some administrative purpose, right? But it's another thing to attack the rights of the American people, the people who are responsible for the creation of the government in the first place. You attack those people to take their rights, and I don't care if it's a now there are laws that say, oh, you can't arrest, a member of Congress or the Senate when they're in session. Well, the exception should be if they try to remove the rights of the American people. Can that exception be made? Maybe not. But there are other ways to get around it. So, with that introduction, let me check the chat here and see if anybody has any specific questions or comments. You all are already seeing what they are that would have to do with our subject here today. Liza Jean Williams says, don't forget selling baby parts is big business. Check out Project Veritas. Very true. See that, and think about how evil this is. And then the splicing of our human genes with the animal and the insect kingdom, et cetera, how evil that is. That is evil. That's science out of control. When we were all growing up, we saw the spy shows. Austin Powers was kind of a tongue-in-cheek one on all this idea. But the idea of the real dangers in the world are the mad scientists, not even the politicians. Politicians just ride that wave. Well, has it turned out to be true? Yes. Yes. The scientists are the demons. They're the ones that think that they're God. And then they convince the politicians to go along with them. We have a problem here. Einstein was wrong. He thought that the scientists should be the ones in charge. Well, look where they've taken us. This is bad. This is very bad. So thank you, Liza Jean. And forgive me, a lot of these folks, I don't know what the name means. But anyway, Viet Cong Fire says, these communists will not stop until they have their world government. James Warburg said in 1950, we will have world government either by consent or they will conquer us. Yeah. And that's exactly what's going on right now. We're not consenting, at least not knowledge, not with understanding. They've duped us into consent by a long way, but those who don't, oh yeah, they're going to force it. Second Amendment, First Amendment, taking those away, banning certain things, attacking those who talk, forcing you to not be able to use your Fourth Amendment rights, all of that. Yeah. And it'll come down to shooting you in the streets or in your homes. They will do that. They've already shown that. They've already done it. So that's just around the corner. The NWO has a religion. It's not Judaism. Very true. Very true. Okay. Gee, I wish this thing had a... Full-term abortion Democrats love this idea, but then Trump's bad guys because he wants to save the children. Right. That's very true, Tony Blessetti. Yeah. See how they twist everything. It used to be, like I said at the beginning of this, we do anything we need to for the children. We'll impose any tyranny for the children's sake. That's the excuse they use. And now, because Trump wants to save the children, he's the bad guy. You see how this shift? This is very dangerous. This says that we've gone to the next level of lies, deception, and evil. It's here. It's not down the road. It's not coming. It's here now. And we can't sit back on this one. As Alex Jones said yesterday, you're either hot or cold. If you're lukewarm, God's going to spit you out. In other words, destroy you. He's not going to put up with this. At least with somebody who's made a decision, you can work with them, especially if they've made the right decision. Or if they refuse to repent from the wrong decision, they're thrown out. And but see, they think that we're the bad guys, so they're going to come out. They have no scruples. They're not going to obey the laws that the Congress passes if they do on the Second Amendment. Of course not. Criminals never do. And if all else fails, they will use the force of the state to take us out. You understand that? No quarter for leftists. The first rule of Bolshevism is that there are no rules. Seriously, to fight them, you must eradicate them. Swivel hype your or hips? Swivel hips? That's good. That's true. That's absolutely true. Trump is a rhino. Well, anybody who's watched me for a long time, you know that I've kept my eye on him, and I call him out when I feel it's necessary. Do I trust him 100%? No. No, I don't. Do I want to give him a chance? Yes, but time is running out. And that might be a detriment on our part. But, we're just trying to play this the best we can. And people say, well, so's Trump. All right, but why the red flag laws? Why civil asset forfeiture? Why bump stock bans? When we know that it wasn't even bump stocks that were used, they were there in the room, but that's not what was used in the shooting. And I talked about that the other day. There was fully automatic weapons fire. These were weapons that were illegal anyway. In Las Vegas shootings, what I'm talking about. And I could talk about some other things. His reticence to release, to declassify the information. But again, I don't want to concentrate on Trump today. We're concentrating on the bad guy. I'm not sure what some of these comments. All gun grabber laws are annulled. Ferguson riot. That state was making clear. Yeah, they are illegal. That's true. If under nothing else in Marbury versus Madison, if you know what that is, which said that basically any law that is made contrary to the Constitution of the United States is null and void at its inception. Problem is that we have such a corrupt system that the government courts just disregard that now. They just disregard it. They're even disregarding some of the decisions that were made based on that, like the Miranda decision. Things are not good. Things are not good. We are the Soviet Union today in the world. We are. That's what we are, and we're a bloody empire that wants to force our will on everyone. That's really, I've talked about that before in my training in the military. That's what they said. We're here to force our will on others. Now, that can be taken a lot of ways, but that's the basic concept, whether or not it's right or wrong. And that concept is wrong. On a battlefield, if you're fighting for the right side, if there is such a thing anymore as a right side, to force your will on the enemy is necessary. But it's gone beyond that now. And you see it in the empire building and the nation building and the regime change and the all of that's happening. And isn't it funny? The Democrats who were so much against war before, now that Trump is talking about, whether he's serious or not, it's not the issue, about stopping these wars and bringing the people home, putting them on our borders, doing things like that. Now all of a sudden they're passing these bills, including Republicans, because it's a military-industrial complex thing. You saw how the generals looked when he was mentioning this. They just sat there, grimacing and frowning. They didn't like it at all because they're hypocrites. Milley's another one. The chief of staff, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who was formerly chief of staff of the Army, General Milley. He's another example. Of an incompetent and somebody that is weak. He talks big, but he's not. He got where he is for other reasons. I'm not going to go there today, but he's another example of the same types as I said earlier, Haspel, Ray, etc. Okay. In my estimation, Milley's an embarrassment. But anyway, that's another issue. Lisa loves Schubel. I missed one. Sorry. Holly Baker. Hey, don't make fun of Stuttering Nancy. Where's my Pelosi? Yeah. Lisa loves Schubel. Netanyahu is getting Israel ready to roll out the new technologies. Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, especially in of course, with this whole 5G thing and all of that. Again, I don't have a problem with Israel existing. I have a problem with Christians and with other people thinking that the state of Israel is God's people, and it's not. They're not. Absolutely, 100% not. Not that Israel. Not that Israel. But we're not going to go into religious discussion today. I'm just not going to do that. Inventor DJ, Viet Cong Fire. You're addressing Judaism as communism, internationalism, the universal brotherhood of man, the emancipation of the working class and the human society. There's a difference between Judaism and the religion, the spiritual system of ancient Israel. Judaism was a development primarily after it started to happen when the northern tribes, 10 tribes, were taken away, and during the Babylonian captivity. It started to happen then, but the real change occurred during Christ's time and immediately after, with the destruction of the Second Temple, the institution of Judaism, which was a Roman sanctioned religion. In other words, at the Council of Yavna, the Roman emperor made sure that the new Judaism did not violate the necessities, the ideas, the objectives of Rome. So rabbinic Judaism is what you're talking about here. Not that rabbis are necessarily bad, but the principle of rabbinic Judaism and what occurred is a heresy. Is a a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, but it's just true. It's a false religion. It's not based on the true religion, the true spiritual system that existed in ancient Israel. It just isn't. So you are correct in that. And then a lot of people say, well, what about the Judeo-Christian tradition? And I realize there's some problems in that when you consider what this fellow or this person here is saying, that Judaism is communism, this international brotherhood of man idea, which it really isn't. There are reasons why you don't have multiculturalism in ancient Israel. There are reasons for that, and it's not racism. It's because they realized that if they blended themselves in with the other nations, that they would lose their identity. Why is it today that it's okay for places like Saudi Arabia and Israel to practice, not practice, I should say, multiculturalism and diversity, but here in the United States we're required to? It's something to think about. It is a way to destroy a people. It is a method of genocide. It is. So at any rate, my point to this individual here is that Judaism, it really isn't the spiritual system of ancient Israel that existed. It was changed, and it was changed by very bad folks, which Jesus was if you look at the real history of what Jesus was about, he was trying to reinstitute, restore the old system. That's what he was doing. And that's why they killed him, because it went against their own system. It went against rabbinic Judaism. It went against the Herodian dynasty that was ruling Judea at the time and subsequent to that. Who were what? Edomite Arabs. Just making the point. All right, Trump does not, this is from Chris Garcio. Trump does not have a chance in 2020. If nothing is done about censorship and election voter fraud, they got away with the midterms. They will. I fear the same thing, Chris. And Owen Schroyer made a good point of that yesterday. He says, well, President Trump's done nothing to stop this censorship and this First Amendment restriction. He's done nothing. And Owen said, you think you can do this without... He's talking to President Trump, who, whether he hears it or not, I don't know. But he says, you think you can do this without us? No, you couldn't do this without us before. You're definitely not going to be able to do it without us in 2020. There might be some exceptions to that with this obvious uncovering of the true nature of the Democratic Party and its leftist Marxist leanings, with this infanticide and all these other things that they're doing. It might be that Trump can get by that, but I'm not certain that that's going to happen. Americans have a very short memory, and all it takes to take a memory away from them is to put something else in, which that's what the purpose of the MSM is. So, yeah, I do agree with you and Owen, but just as a matter of what's in Trump's mind, I don't know. He rolls over too much as far as I'm concerned. Okay, but we're not here to talk about his weaknesses today. Watchman on the Wall. The NWO has a religion. It is Satan in disguise as Talmudic Judaism. Talmudic Judaism is a bedrock. Well, that's not quite right. Talmudic Judaism is the New World Order religion is basically, bottom line, it's the worship of Moloch. That's what it is. Talmudic Judaism, with its idea, when we take into consideration some of the other statements we made here a few minutes ago, is very similar to the tenets of Islam. As a matter of fact, Islam, Muhammad pulled a lot of his ideas. He saw, and I've talked about this before, he saw what was working in Judaism, he saw what was working in Christianity, and he tried to amalgamate those, put them together. And what he thought were the good parts, whether they were or not. But at any rate, then we got to this other thing with the Talmudic Judaism. You can kill the goyim, right? You can do anything to them you want. Well, in Islam, that was basically the same thing. Infidels replaced the goyim. So and those principles that's why the NWO likes Islam and why it's permeating throughout Europe and the United States, and we're seeing it rear its ugly head, and it is. Mike Cernovich talks about, that there is Islamophobia in the United States, and he talks about it. He's married to a Persian. Well, Persians aren't Arabs, okay, first of all. And Persians weren't really, they converted principally by force, but they converted to this Islamic thing, but they're really not. They're really not Islamicists. They're not Arabs. Zoroastrian, they're actually, their culture is quite a bit different. But to be aware of the dangers of Islam and what its radical elements can do is not Islamophobia. It's just common sense. At any rate, I'd love to talk to Mike Cernovich sometime, but as most of you know, I'm pretty much on the outside of most of the really well-known folks. They don't want to, and I hate to admit it, but it's true. They don't want to associate with me for various reasons. I've told you about the situation with Alex Jones and several others. Which is coming home to roost now in a lot of ways, because what I stood for in the earlier days of my life was a fruitful life. I mean, I didn't do it very well, but the concept of promoting life was really at the center of it, and that more abundantly, as Jesus would say. And what's happened to the United States because they rejected that message? They're flooded with infanticide promoting demons now and pedophiles. They thought what I was doing was bad, and now they're embracing pedophiles and infanticide. They're being shown that side and how it's controlled all of their thoughts, all of our thoughts and actions. This is a judgment, and the invasion of the United States by these different ideologies and these different cultures is the forceful invasion, not asking for legal entrance, but forceful invasion. These are judgments against us, which is why I make the calls that I do, why I say the things I do, but I don't know that we can be saved. It might come down to a real division in this country where states, again, we will be left literally without a central government in this fight. And we will be left on our own. And they will come after us first, but eventually it will cause a dissolution of everything. Michael Parkhurst, if you don't like the discussion, you don't have to stay here. Okay? Let me read you what he says. What is there no more doubt about? I'm only here because of the title to the stream. Please get to the point. What is there no more doubt about? That the Democrats are controlled by a leftist Marxist ideology, and they are demons, and that we cannot reconcile with them. We cannot sit down at a table and negotiate with them any longer. Did you not get the point of that? Now, if you don't want to be here on the discussion, I don't think I got chains on your ankles. I don't think I've put a ball and chain on you to keep you here. Okay? I think I've dealt with you before, and you're not a bad person, okay? But this is a discussion. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. So I'll say it one more time. We're talking about the fact that we cannot compromise. We cannot negotiate with evil anymore. And what is the evil? Well, it's in both parties. It's in all parts of our society. But the one that's rearing its head now and making itself known completely is the Democratic Party with its leftist Marxist ideology and its force. It's denial of our constitutional republic and the Bill of Rights and the institution of eugenics and mass homicide, mass murder. All right? You can't negotiate with that. That's gone. We have no more reason to deal with them. Patriot Nurse, she has, I think it's Patriot Nurse. She has a website. She's on Twitter. She's on YouTube, and she has a website. I think she lives in Eugene, Oregon. She talked about this the other day. She's absolutely right. We cannot negotiate with these people. We cannot sit down at a table. It's done. It's over with. We really are in a war in this country. It's not a shooting war yet, and I don't want it to go there. That's why I say there's going to be a division. The revelation of what's good and evil is being manifest to you at such a point now you can't have this argument anymore. Even members of my own family who are Democrats who are sitting there and trying to find fault with the constitutional republic and all of that and what I've stood for. Okay? There's no way that they can reconcile and say that what I am is worse than this concept of infanticide and how it's rearing its head, this pedophilia and this infanticide. Selling of body parts and the splicing of human genes with insects and animals, as I said before. That's true evil. And if you can't see it, God's going to deal with you. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? If you choose to shut your eyes and not see this and understand the danger of it, even members of my own family, you can't imagine. I went to visit one of them. I love them dearly, but I couldn't stand it. 24/7, CNN, MSNBC, and all that garbage. And they were telling me that I was getting misinformation and propaganda and disinformation and I wasn't doing my research and all that. And I said, and you're quoting these guys? These are relatively intelligent people. Okay. Yeah, Claire Lyons, they do keep secrets. That's true. One religion is Luciferianism. Yeah, that's really closer than Judaism or even Talmudic Judaism or Islam. It really is a Luciferianism. That's really what it is. And of course, you know that Lucifer wasn't the real name of the guy that got the being that got kicked out of heaven. Yeah, it was male, by the way. Okay, Michael Parker, so you are not the boss of Roy. Liza Jean, you're always there to defend me. You and several others. I appreciate that. Kay Smalls wanted to be a moderator, and you could be too. I'm just not sure how to do that. I thought I'd figured it out the other day, and then when I tried to pull it up, oh, there it is right there. It was at the bottom. Hey, guess what, Liza Jean? I'm going to make you a moderator. Okay, so you are now a moderator. I figured out how to do it, Liza Jean. And there are a couple of others of you that I'm going to, if I see on here, I'll make you guys moderators too, because you have earned my trust. I mean, you don't need to agree with me all the time, but when people want to start calling names or just outright lies or make threats or whatever, yeah, you have a right to knock them off, Liza Jean. Thank you very much. You're the very first one. Like I say, if I see Kay Smalls on here, I'll make her one too, and some of the others that I've seen. Okay. Exxon CEO sits on Trump's administration. He chose him. And I realize that. That's what I've been saying, that he never chose anybody that was really behind him 100%. He went back to these NWO, deep stater people. It's like Churchill and Eisenhower inviting Goring over into the war room in Britain, to help them fight the Germans. I mean, I cannot comprehend it, and that's one of the things about Trump that I'm just not understanding. Although he did, his former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, he did say he was a weak guy. Okay. Teresa Huckabee, have you noticed your health is better when you're not in Utah? If I'm even within, Evanston is actually my home. I'm not there a lot. It's what I call home. It's where all my things are, stuff like that. But I travel a lot. I think you understand that, right? I have family from Seattle to Arizona, from Colorado to California to Maryland to Ohio to New York. I've got them everywhere, and I travel a lot. After my wife died in 2008, I'm not a hermit, but I don't have roots. But I do claim Evanston, Wyoming is my home. That's where, my cars are registered and, all that stuff, and I consider myself a citizen. That's where I vote, those types of things. But I travel a lot. But you're right. Evanston is just far enough that I don't feel bad there, even with the thin air. But yeah, I got to admit, once I go past Park City going towards Salt Lake, or once I go, if you're familiar with the Salt Lake area, once I get up past Nephi in the south, or let's see, when I come in from the north, I usually start getting that feeling probably at about Tremonton, certainly by Ogden. And from the west, if I'm coming from the west, actually by the time I pass the line from Wendover and get into Utah, I start feeling it there. It is funny. And yes, I think my health is better when I'm not in Utah. There is most Mormons, and you know how I feel about this. I've said it before if you've been on the channel for any length of time. Mormons don't like me talking about it, but my experience in this has been vast and deep. And I am considered an enemy of the LDS. Of the Mormons are trying to change that. They don't want the Mormon name anymore. They want to stick with the Jesus Christ thing. But the Mormon people, the Mormon leadership, the LDS leadership does consider me to be an enemy, and I feel it here all the time. And that opposition has permeated much of the Salt Lake area. People still recognize me today, from all those things that happened in the 80s and 90s. So anyway, yeah, I am better when I'm not here. Chucky is a piece of shit. Tom Hawley says that. I live in upstate New York, and Chucky is always there when a new company opens. He says he has a reason, but 3 years later, when they close their doors, Chucky isn't around. Proves my point, right? Yep. We may as well build a giant Chemosh and throw babies into its fiery belly. Well, that's what they're trying to get us to do. That's exactly where they want us to go. You're right. Who was that said that? Jack Kennedy. Why are all my cvine.com posts being deleted, Mr. Potter? Surfishy888. I'm not sure I know what you're talking about, but the algorithms are attacking anybody that mentions certain things. You get censored, you get your channel taken down, suspended, whatever. It's really bad on Twitter. Okay, so I'm not certain why. Probably a lot of reasons. Yeah, clap back, Nancy. Stolen Technologies, Lisa Love Schubel. Sergeant Dingle, Bush said it all when he said you were either with us or against us. That's right. Seems that people are against you. And yeah, he was saying you're either with us or with the terrorists. And basically, if you don't go along with what the New World Order is, they consider you a terrorist. And I warned about that the moment he said it. And actually, at that point, if I remember right, I was already on my way overseas. And I went, well, I don't like the sound of that. Okay, the Talmud. No, no, no. You're not right, inventor DJ. You're saying that the Talmud is the oral Torah. No, 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 no. No, you're not right about that. The oral tradition is not the Talmud. The Talmud is a commentary on the Torah. That's all it is. However, today's Jews do actually pay attention to it more than they do the Torah. But you're not correct. It's not the oral tradition. It's not. It's a heresy. An alteration. It actually is. It's not changing the words of the Torah, but it's bending its meaning. A lot of it's good. I mean, some of the Talmud's really good stuff. Some of the stories of the different rabbis making their travels and stuff like that. Some of that's really good. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Yeah, Watchman of the Law, no competent executive puts his enemies closer than his friends, so why does Trump surround himself with disloyal creeps? I agree. Hasn't that been one of my complaints all along? And a lot of other people's, including Greg Jarrett, not to Geneva, Hannity's not even really gone there, but Alex Jones, the people who really understand this whole system. Roger Stone, who they're really throwing rocks and eggs and tomatoes at now. Michael Savage has even said it. So a lot of people realize it, and I don't know. My Republican insider says, well, it's because Trump was, he was always a loner. He didn't have a lot of friends. Reagan, when he came in, he had people like Schultz and all those good folks, if you want to call them good. Anyway, they understood D.C. Trump didn't bring that with him. He had to depend on others, apparently by the story, to get people in there. But it's 2 years. It's over 2 years into his presidency now. These mistakes should be far in the past. So I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing. Is he weak and feckless, as Calator Menza says? I don't think that's the case. Ray is milk toesy. Yeah, well, Ray is how would I define him? A useful idiot. That's how I look at him. Deplorable. Anyone who says Alex Jones is a shill does not know what shill means. Alex was woke before. And that's why I defend Alex. Everybody tries to survive. Alex has been accused of being part of Stratfor and a CIA operative and Mossad and all that. Look at his total fruits, ladies and gentlemen. His total fruits. Yeah, he's got one continual run-on commercial these days. It just drives me nuts. It says, well, I haven't plugged. Oh, yes, you have. You've plugged almost every minute of your show one way or another. But he's in a survival mode, so I give him a lot of leeway. He hates my guts. He probably wouldn't admit that, but he does. For a number of reasons. But I still consider him to be a good source of information to then go check for yourself. His 3-hour show could probably, like a lot of people say, Roy, you're talking too long. We've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. His show could probably be cut down to a lot less time as far as giving out information. But it is a show. It is a commentary. It's not just news, so I give him a lot of leeway. FBI is corrupt. Absolutely. I've been saying it for years. Look at my playlist on FBI corruption. You'll see I've been talking about that for years. I've had a lot of experience with how they have used parallel construction, how they have put information out there, the news media, and then used that, as they did in this Trump thing, to open an investigation. They're really, really bad people. And I am totally against the concept that's been put out there that the only bad people in the FBI are the ones at the top, that the rank and file are all good. Manifestly not the truth. Manifestly not the truth. They've made sure that their ilk have infiltrated that entire organization. I'm not saying there aren't some good ones, but they're very few and far between. Okay, I'm going to skip through a lot of these things so that Joseph D'Apostino, Roy Potter, welcome back. We need your perspective in these crazy times. Well, it's like I said, I'm not going to do this on a regular basis. I'm still saying that you can get all of this information in a much better Why are you cutting yourself down, Roy? Why do you do that? Well, for a number of reasons. Because I know that there are people out there who depend upon YouTube, for instance, and their news for their livelihood. I don't. So, and they put out great things. Look at Headlines with a Voice as an example. In the Zolna report, the Still report. I'm just plugging a few here so that you know, right? And there are others. And they depend on this, and they do such a good job. It's really their career. This isn't for me. This is just bringing in my experience and my training to comment on it. And you don't need that all the time, not anymore. And until Trump, what did I say? I'm not going to do anything regular until I see him declassify and collar some of these criminals. And at this point, I'd like to say also that he needs to pull back on the red flag laws, the bump stock baloney, and support the First Amendment. And that's not happening. Those things are not happening. Okay, let's see here. Roy, what's the reason? The reason. I'm not sure I know what your question is. Yukon Cornelius. Roy, what's the reason? I'm not sure. You need to couch that in a little bit better format, because I'm not sure what you mean by what's the reason. Okay. God's children are his creation. I agree. Children are the future. Children are our treasure. I'm not saying they can't be a pain in the ass. I have 11 of them. I know they can be, but that's not the issue, right? That's not the issue. Okay, are we still going here? Yeah. All right, let me see here. I'm going to look for somebody because I want to make them. So I'm going to run ahead here. You all have to pardon me because I do want to make another moderator. And I should have done this long time ago. Let me just see if Kay Smalls is on here because I promised her that I would make her. Let me make sure we're still operating here. Yeah, we are. You may have noticed I went offline for a second, at least it appeared that way, so the weather is interfering a little bit. But we're almost done. I'm not going to drag you all through. Oh, Roosevelt's on here. Hold on, Roosevelt's on here. Roosevelt. William Barr, can you comment on his deep state connections? Roosevelt, you already know how I feel about Bill Barr. Ruby Ridge. That tells me all about him I need to know and how he defended Lon Horiuchi. I don't trust Bill Barr. I was very upset when Trump appointed him. Joe DeGeneva seems to think that he's going to do a great job and has put aside some of his things. There was another guy, James Kallstrom, who was a deputy director of the FBI and was involved in the TWA disaster. I forget the number. But he covered it up, and he because he was told to, and he's regretted it ever since, and he's really changed. He's been out there saying how bad the FBI is now and the DOJ, and the president needs to take action. Maybe Bill Barr is going to be like that. Maybe he's finally realized how far down the road we've gone. But, it's real hard for a leopard to change his spots. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on Bill Barr. I think that one instance at Ruby Ridge pretty much shows where he is. And we could go into some other things as possible connections with the CIA and all that. A guy who did a fairly good job on exposing that was, rats. I can't believe I've forgotten his name. At any rate. But he did make a mistake. This guy did make a mistake thinking that Bill Barr, Kevin Schiff, he did make a mistake saying that Bill Barr was part of the Bay of Pigs incident. Well, he was only 11 years old at the time, something like that. How do you make a mistake like that? I don't know. But a lot of the other information that Kevin Shipp put out about Bill Barr was correct, even though Bill still, pointed out some other problems with it. Bill Barr is a problem. So we won't spend a lot of time on him, Roosevelt, but thanks for being here. It's nice to see you. Roosevelt we stay in close touch on Twitter, and it's been kind of nice to have. He's amongst or she. I'm not really sure if it's a guy or a girl. I don't know. I think it's a guy, but there are a few people on there that we keep pretty close contact, and I really like that. Now I've given up on a lot of folks. Over the years of being on YouTube and Twitter. I've really been disappointed, and that's another reason why I pulled back off of a lot of this, because a lot of the people aren't what they appear to be. A few of them I've met in person, and then some things happen, and I find out, wow, this isn't the person that they present themselves as. So a lot of folks I just don't communicate with anymore, but Roosevelt is one of them that I do communicate with. So, all right, let's see. I was looking for, maybe she's not here today, Kay Smalls. If any of you see her, tell her to post again, and I will put her up. As a matter of fact, Roosevelt, hey, you know what? I got to go back down to where you are, because you'd be a great moderator, wouldn't you? Would you like to be a moderator? I'm going to make you one here now that I know how to do it. Okay, so you can help me control the people, like I was saying. Liza Jean Williams is one now, and now you're one. And as soon as I see Kay, I'll bring her on as well. These people are nasty. You know what I'm talking about. Name calling, death threats in any manner, off topic to, they want to talk about peanut butter when we're talking about Trump, that kind of thing, So you know how to do it. You're a professional at this by now, so thank you. And if you'd rather not do it, just let me know and I'll take you off. It's not a hard job, I wouldn't think. Okay. Pardon me while I look through this to see if there's anything that I need to address, because we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes, and I think we're done. I think you get the point of where we are here. And I don't see Kay. Okay, I'm sure I'll see her some other time, and when I do, I'll put her on here. Yeah, she's not popping back up, so. Oh, so you like that, Roosevelt? You like that? Okay, I'm happy. Yeah, thank you, Liza Jean, too. We are in good company, and I know that you guys are great. You've been around a long time. Like with Kay Small, she and I disagree on some topics, and this is where I talk about, there's disagreement, but the evil of the Democratic Party and what it's become. And again, I realize that the rhinos are in on it too. I'm not ignorant of that fact. We are in a lot of trouble. And all I'm saying is that we cannot compromise anymore. And anybody who wants to compromise away our rights, anybody who wants to negotiate with our rights is the enemy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Even Trump, when he goes with these red flag laws and the bump style, anybody who negotiates with our rights in the mix, saying, okay, I'll compromise on this aspect of the First Amendment or the Fourth Amendment or the Second Amendment if you give me this. If they use our Bill of Rights, our God-given, constitutionally protected rights as negotiating items for anything, they are the enemy. They're either stupid or they're doing it on purpose. Either way, we cannot deal with it any longer. Right? That's the bottom line. So, Captain Carl's on here. I believe Barr was placed for martial law, gun confiscation, preparation purposes, and Trump knows it. It could very well be. It could very well be. Captain Carl, I don't know. I don't trust Barr. I can't. I'm hoping he turns out to be a James Kallstrom type of character who realizes, as I said a few minutes ago, realizes the danger the republic is in and is willing to go forward. But Trump really caused me a problem with the red flag support, the bump stock, when he knows that it was automatic weapons in Las Vegas that did that, not a bump stock. He knows it. And if he doesn't, he's incompetent. Again, I didn't want to jump on Trump today. That's not what I want to do. We want to show who the enemy is. The real enemy is the leftist Marxists in any shape, form, color, creed, religion, nationality. That's the enemy, because they support and defend and promulgate and force with violence Luciferian doctrine. They are the enemy. And that's where we'll leave it today, I think, for now. I want to thank everybody for coming. This has been a lot. It's funny, I didn't really plan on it being this long. I just wanted to kind of make an appearance, but, I always say that. So thank you for coming, everybody. I appreciate it. And like I said, I won't be making this as a regular thing. It'll just be when the urge hits me, I guess is what the deal is. But this thing with infanticide, there is no room for negotiation. There is no concept that these two divergent paths can possibly meet again. It's done. It's over with. We cannot budge. We must stop. We must stand in the breach and stop these people in every possible way we can. They're going to call us the criminals. That's how they design the legal system. And if the FBI and the DOJ goes along with it, God damn them. God damn them. Okay. God bless you. God bless yours. God bless the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America and the Second American Revolution. God bless Donald Trump and all of his righteous endeavors. And may the Spirit of the Lord descend upon him as the dews from heaven, showing him the difference between right and wrong. And may he have the courage to choose the right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in dire circumstances. I'll say it again today. They're attacking all of our rights, our First Amendment rights. Remember, God gave us that. God spoke and this happened. God spoke and that happened. Speaking is godly. Even if you're wrong, speaking is a necessity. Self-defense is a right. And they'll say, well, you can do that without a firearm. Come on. No, you can't. And you need the best tool at your disposal to do that. And it needs the well-regulated militia part is deliberately misstated in legal terms and in the courts. By and large, there have been both sides. But the bottom line is we have a right to defend ourselves with the best tool available. And we should be secure in our possessions and our papers and our lives under the Fourth Amendment. And we could go down through all of them, but all of those are being attacked right now. So I'll end this by saying what I said the other day in, sell your cloak and buy a sword, and also in the U.S.'s The Degeneracy of the U.S. Part 2, that I took that excerpt out of Sell Your Cloak and Buy a Sword. I excerpted part of that and made that video. You need to make that statement now, immediately, as soon as possible. Get yourself a semi-automatic rifle and buy it from a store. Don't buy it privately. I mean, there are some benefits that I suppose, but we want to make a statement. And are you putting a big red target on your chest? Sure. But make the statement. If enough of us buy a good AR-15 or any other kind of semi-automatic weapon, we're making a statement. And if we make it in mass, I think that's important. Okay? Again, thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time. K Smalls, if you're out there, make sure you show up next time I'm on. Of course, I know that's kind of hard because I don't schedule it. But I'll make you a moderator. I finally figured out how to do it. Thanks, everybody out here for now.